I would be lying if I said I was not a little disappointed. I wasn't even able to scratch that annoying, sanctimonious thief. I wonder if he finds that ironic. No matter. I will give them credit. They really can be quite competent when they actually focus. But I swear they had the luck of Renald with them. You see, slitting their throats while they slept would have been so easy initially, but alas, even in the end I am a professional. We can't kill them till we know who they really are. We can't kill them now as it would draw attention. The chamber or the Graf might find things out too early. It did make sense, but deep down I knew it would be a folly. I will admit, I did think they'd come alone. They are so proud, so keen to break the rules and work outside the system. It didn't help that the reinforcements sent were extremely weak, but how could they not be? You see, they think themselves better than the Sigmarites and the Ulricans, but at the end of the day, even the Hand are still looking to a god for all their answers. I learned long ago the only person you can truly trust in this world is yourself. No one else is truly going to help you. All others do is try and take. That's how we survive. People take until there is nothing left to take. These heroes are no different. I can't complain, really. For a very long time, I finally was able to take some things for myself. They took my mother, they took my home, my childhood, but they couldn't take my life. No, instead I took from them, and I was good at it. But nothing lasts forever. Still, you never know. I did store for time. Are they going to get lucky one more time? I suppose I'll soon know. This is Red Moon Role-Playing. It is the final night of the festival, and things are not going as you expected, Kruger and Heinrich. You thought perhaps the night would end with a blackmailer successfully caught, blackmailed or interrogated, and a lead to a mastermind which maybe you could sort out tomorrow. But instead, you are in the palace of the Graf himself, facing a very odd sight. In the Graf's personal chambers, which aren't lit very well, but are lit a little, you can see Graf Boris Todbringer, currently dressed in what you assume is some sort of dressing gown, being attacked by Graf Boris Todbringer. That Graf Boris Todbringer is holding the other one by the neck, trying to strangle him with some sort of garrote. And they are locked in combat, but they do freeze as the two of you enter. That is Kruger and Heinrich. You enter the room first, flanked by several knights, and of course, catching up Siegfrieda and Erika. But it is, of course, you two who are first on the scene. Heinrich, what do you do? This is highly unusual.
There's an immediate moment of looking between them. Stock movie image of Heinrich, sword out, hearing the screaming, ready to launch into action, and then immediately not knowing what to do. So I turn, I'm assuming look to my left, to Kruger, and look back to the Grafs, and then back to Kruger, making an increasingly confused face every time our eyes swap.
Save the Graf! I yell out, and I immediately lunge towards the Graf that is garroting the other Graf, seemingly thinking that the aggressor must surely be, well, the bad one here.
Indeed, you lunge forward. Graf Boris quickly presents the man in his arms to you. Indeed! Quick, you, yes! Slay this intruder! And then the one you're about to engage in combat, the one being held, being thrust towards you, says, Yes! Help me! Slay this intruder!
You, pointing at the one who is doing the garroting, stand there. And you, pointing with the sword. There, we'll get to the bottom of this.
Yes, there must be some way of determining who the real Graf is. And I'm looking around towards all the other people who are here. I mean, are there any of the high-ranking assistants or other lords here that might be able to help us out with some details, perhaps? Someone who knows the Graf a little bit better than we do?
Not at all. A few knights are standing, stunned, and everyone else is making their way towards you. It's all happening very quickly. At your command, the Graf holding the other Graf begins to just start sidestepping towards a door, the door they just spilled out from, and again just commands, "I am the Graf! Shoot this one immediately!" The other Graf says, "Help me!"
Oh, the one who's trying to sidestep then and disappear is clearly the most suspicious, so I'll just make sure that they can't leave.
Roll an agility test, please. At a -10, this is all a little bit of a stumble here.
It certainly is. I'm going to have to use a point of fortune here, because that first one was a failure. The other one is just past.
Then you dart forwards. As you do so, one of the Grafs boots the other Graf towards you. He releases this individual from the garrote and just throws the other Graf into your way. You manage to dance with the Graf for a few seconds, but doesn't slow you down. Sadly, the other Graf uses this opportunity to quickly dart through that door and lock it behind him. But you are at the door. What do you do?
Does anyone have a key for this one? I guess it's locked. I can't like pull it open, right? It's locked solidly.
It is indeed locked solid.
Is there any other way around the window or something like that?
You go to the window and you look out. I mean, there is another window. Maybe you could climb out the window and climb over to the other room. Yes, that's possible. It's going to take time. The other guards are now quickly rushing to the Graf on the floor and trying to attend to him. He's gasping for air.
Does anyone have a key for this door? Quickly.
There's no time. We'll use the Emperor's guest key. Can I shoot the lock off? Or shoot through the locking mechanism?
You certainly can. Let's see how you do. Roll your attack.
That is a 40 under 53.
Very well, then you unload one of your pistols, now needing a reload, of course, but you do shoot the lock off and the door does swing just a little, but of course at this point, the guards are focusing on the Graf himself. You can just hear some barking. Erica and Siegfried are almost on the scene, but not quite. What do you do, Kruger? The door is swinging open a little, and you see just beyond it some green light starting to spill out into the room you're currently in.
Well, if the door is open, then I'll just book after this fake Graf to try to get in, to try to get a hold of them before they disappear.
Indeed, and you burst through the door to confront the fake Graf, who no longer looks like the fake Graf, but you can't really tell. His size has changed, his height, and he now seems to have a great big moustache on his face. But he is still dressed in the clothes. Far more alarming is the giant gout of green flames beginning to form in his hands, and as you barge through the door, he screams out, "Die!" Before you can even react, the gouts of bluish-green flame begin to form into something. A grinning, skull-like face. This face, it's so solid, so real, as if suddenly a giant skull is now flying towards you, and it is flying and laughing, and it passes through you. It literally passes through. You are overcome with a sense of panic. The pain is not the pain of being speared through with a knife. It just feels cold. Deadly cold. Now this is very important. As Kruger barged into the room, Heinrich, where do you think you would have been? Would you have perhaps been right behind your friend?
Oh, absolutely.
Then this grinning green skull passes directly through you as well. Both of you take 8 damage, which of course will be subtracted by your armor and toughness. But I'd also like both of you to make a coolness roll. What do you get, Kruger?
I get 5 under 36, so that's 3 degrees of success.
You pass. What about you, Heinrich?
No, I have failed by 2.
Well, let's deal with you first, Kruger. Kruger, you feel intense pain deep inside you. It's not like you've been stabbed. It's more like your heart suddenly is very, very cold. But you are able to at least not give in to fear. You're not actually hurt. There's no bleeding anywhere. You must be fine. Heinrich, on the other hand, even though you don't feel that you've been actually hurt, you do feel a little of this coldness, and you have no idea what that means. Is this the beginning of some hideous curse? Are you about to change into some monstrosity? Are you about to dissolve? You are broken. You are overcome with fear, and you need to run away from this, whatever this person is doing, as quickly as you can. What do you do, Heinrich?
The thump of this thing against my chest, like a cannonball or something. And it's easy to talk a big game about wanting to be a witch hunter, but then you experience this for the first time? No, I'm diving for cover immediately, just literally hurling myself towards the floor, away from the doorway, and then scrambling up to my feet as fast as the floor will allow me so I can find the safest corner to be away from whatever the next spell is going to be.
Indeed. Kruger, what do? You sense your friend fleeing in terror, but you will not be swayed.
Indeed. This person who just cast this spell upon us, I have them in front of me. Am I able to fire upon them?
Of course. Please do.
Then I shall do so. And I will have to use another point of fortune there. That's better. That is 2 degrees of success. And my crossbow deals 9. So that would be 11 damage.
Indeed. And so you fire your crossbow into this individual who roars in anger at having been hurt, but you hit him, he's bleeding, and he begins to try and scramble towards the open window in this room. What do, Kruger? He's trying to get away.
I'm not going to let him escape. I mean, this is too important. So as soon as I've fired my crossbow, I'm not going to have time to reload here, so I'll just try to chase him down and subdue him if I can.
Very well, you will attempt to grapple him. Please make your roll. That would be a weapon skill roll, please.
I just succeed. 29 under 31.
How many success levels is that?
Just 0 or 1, depending on how you look at it, I guess.
You make to go after him, but he dodges out of the way of your attack and makes to the window. As he does, he turns, and again, a green fire begins to emerge in his hands, although thankfully not nearly as much as before. But as he turns to attack you, you kind of go for him again. You know how this works. You cannot let him cast another spell, and you try and just stop him, I imagine, yes?
Absolutely, yes.
And suddenly, this bolt that was forming in his hands doesn't fire at you, but instead seems to suddenly disperse, and yet the room suddenly goes very cold. There's a crackling, almost like electricity to the air, as you have disrupted this man's spell quite badly.
Seeing as how the attacker has failed with whatever they were trying to do, whatever foul magic that they were trying to cast, I will just again attempt to subdue them, and I basically have my knife now drawn on them, hopefully putting them in a position where they must realize that there is no way out of this. They are trapped.
I'd like you to roll an intimidation check at a -30.
That's not gonna happen, no.
You hold your blade to this man's throat. You try, but he continues to struggle, and he just backhands you with his elbow, and the conflict continues. You can't blame him. It does occur to you. There's no maybes about this. This is a servant of chaos. His crime, the punishment is death. So it seems he'd rather die here than let you interrogate him and kill him later.
Makes sense.
Siegfrieda, finally you arrive to the scene. You're not entirely sure what's going on. There seems to be a fight happening, but you don't know why there'd be a fight. You see a bunch of knights around the Graf, who's wheezing terribly on the floor as if he's been assaulted somehow, and you see your friend Heinrich just cowering behind a table or something. He seems utterly mortified, and then somewhere ahead of you, you hear a struggle in another room. What do you do? Erica is now at your side, barking loudly.
Okay, I will look down to Erica. Erica, protect Kruger, because if Heinrich is in here looking alarmed and there's signs of a struggle, it must mean Kruger is in a struggle. So, Erica knows who Kruger is. Erica can go and do Erica's thing. Meanwhile, I'll run over to Heinrich and see if there's any kind of medical aid I can render to my disturbed friend.
Very well, then Erica begins to move forward rapidly in the direction of the sounds of conflict while you head to Heinrich. Heinrich, the coldness, it's still there, but now Siegfrieda's here. What do you do?
Well, seeing Siegfrieda is twofold good news. One, we have the whole party together, so that's more blade to the point in the right direction. And two, I don't want to look like a huge coward in front of her. So can I use that to make another coolness check?
You certainly can. Give yourself a +10 as you see Siegfrieda with insight.
Siegfrieda, your presence is magical. I have rolled a 1.
Excellent! And so your broken condition is removed as you come to your senses. You look down, and you're not hurt. You're not hurt at all. It doesn't make any sense, but that in itself is enough to bring you back.
Did the impact leave any kind of mark on the breastplate or the mail?
No.
Heinrich, update me quickly. What is happening?
2 Grafs. One's a sorcerer. Flaming skulls coming out the door. Kruger's in there.
Do you need my aid?
No, I'm back on my feet. And you can see him readjusting the plate as if there's been some kind of impact to his chest, but slowly collecting himself and heading back. I'll follow you towards that door the second you start moving.
Well, don't die yet, then. I can examine you for broken bones later. Let's find Kruger.
Kruger. You continue to struggle with this man. Again, his hand keeps lighting up. Do you wish to continue trying to grapple him physically? The chances of you getting badly hurt are quite high. You could always just retreat a little and try and reload your crossbow, or of course wait for your friends, or do something else. What do you do?
Reloading the crossbow is going to take way too long time, and in this situation, I'm just gonna try and be close enough to disturb him so that he cannot cast another spell, and hope that the guards and my friends will be here shortly. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Very well then, how do you attempt to do this?
I suppose I'll try to grapple again.
Very well then, let's make a strength check. -10 as he is very slippery.
I get 16 under 17.
You dive forward and you grab him. He struggles, he bites your hand, but you have him. And suddenly you see reinforcements arriving, and you hear him say, "No! Damn you! Damn you!" And then he suddenly becomes very hot as he begins to... He's on fire. He's on fire, Kruger. What do? Are you going to hold on to this man rapidly being consumed by flame?
No, I will let him go then. If I'm convinced that it's actual fire and not some form of illusion, I'll take a few steps back, and reach for my crossbow, and begin reloading.
Then you do so. Make a reload test, please.
Yeah, no problem. 14 under 50.
Then your crossbow is reloaded as this man quickly dives to the window. It seems still moving. Maybe it was just illusionary flame. You're not sure. Heinrich, you barge into the room. You see your target. It's at the window. What do?
Oh, God, I can't jump because the fire's there. How? We're on the first floor, right?
You are on the second floor.
Okay.
So there is a drop to the first floor here, yes.
Wouldn't be the first time that we jumped out of window. Is this person, are they just jumping down to the ground floor? Can I tell?
That might be what they're doing. Yes, you don't quite know. It's all happening very quickly, but you do have one pistol and a blunderbuss at your side.
And the blunderbuss is on the back. I don't want to have to pull that out. Well, let's do something risky and shoot this person in the leg.
Wonderful. Please make your roll at a -10 as you try and aim.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to re-roll that. That's a point of fortune off. Yes, that's 2 success levels.
Very well. You aim, you fire, and bang! Off goes your gunpowder as this man's leg buckles, and out the window he goes. With a loud scream, followed by a crunch.
I'm running after him. First of all, head out the window. Did they land survive end first, or did they land die end first?
Well, as you run to the window and look down, the answer is they are very dead. This is quite a large drop. It's a jump from a second story, and it's quite a tall building, so if you were to follow without rope, you would also meet a sticky end, or at least break your leg. In this case, you think they landed head first. They're not moving.
Well, it was worth a shot. Banging the butt of the pistol against the sill of the window and hoping that he would just been disabled or break a bone and we could... And turning back to Kruger, just obvious frustration on my face now.
Siegfrieda, you hear Erica barking. You look and see a room with your 2 friends, although they no longer seem in any danger. But there's also a bunch of knights in here now, and very quickly you can look down the corridor and see Lady Emmanuel Nacht and Barrack rushing this way. And there's also an old man wheezing very heavily as you hear the knight say, "Quick, call a doctor at once!" What do you do?
There's no one here for Erica to maul, and I know she ran in ahead, but there's... essentially, she is at heel, I'm guessing.
You quickly move to check on her, and she does seem to be barking at a window, and you can see Heinrich's looking out a window, and Kruger's looking a little winded, but otherwise seems fine. This is all happening in a very nice bedroom, it seems.
Okay, I'll go to the Graf if he is injured. Not that I was there for it, but if he was being garroted, he may need some assistance breathing. I won't declare my presence or my ability as a healer, but I will rush to him.
Then you rush to him. The knights give you a bit of a look. And yes, there is Graf Boris Todbringer, currently in a very luxurious dressing gown. You can immediately see there is a nasty, dark line around his neck, and he is struggling to catch his breath.
Well, my knowledge of clearing airways and reinflating lungs and so on is limited to what I've read in books. I've never had to perform this particular operation in the past. I've heard sometimes of people who have used hollow pieces of reed or bamboo to create a hole in the throat so that someone could breathe almost artificially. I'm fumbling around with my equipment.
Well, feel free to make a law anatomy roll.
Let's see what I can do here. That's a good roll. 13 under 69.
Well, you quickly try to assess his condition. What is this? Has he been strangled? Or maybe, no, that sort of line would be caused by some wire. Has he been garroted? Well, if that's the case, then it might not be that bad. He might just be reacting badly to the asphyxiation due to his age. Maybe he just needs a good old-fashioned thump to the chest or two and to be told to calm down. That might help. Maybe even given something to kill his discomfort.
That sounds all very provincial and not the kind of advanced medicine I would be involved in, but if that's the best medicine for an old man like this, I will dutifully whack him on the chest and give him some medicinal alcohol to clear his pipes.
Roll a heal check. Give yourself a +10. This is not complicated.
Okay, that is a 38 under 79 +10.
Then you quickly administer your medical aid. The knights are a little stunned at first, but seeing you get out very much looks like doctor or medicinal gear does make them let you do what you do. And you begin to calm the Graf down. He's still breathing heavily, but again, your painkiller does seem to bring him some comfort as he just starts. An intruder in our halls.
Yeah, save your breath, Graf. I think there's a lot of people are already aware, and I think your windpipe has been crushed, but don't worry. But I will say to you, and I will point my finger at him, the fact that you managed to swallow this medicinal alcohol without even spluttering tells me that you need to cut down on the wine and port somewhat.
He just nods, perhaps not really listening to you. He's clearly in some shock. But you are very close to him now, and despite some of the weight, you have to give credit. This was once a very, very large man. He probably once had very good endurance. That probably has helped in this case. If he was a slightly thinner man, he might not have taken the throttling so well, you think to yourself.
Oh, I've no doubt. The ropey muscles in his neck have helped him strain against the garrote for quite some time, but good job we arrived when we did.
Yes, you arrived almost exactly on time. How fortunate. Heinrich, what do? You're looking down. Would you like to roll a perception check?
Oh, surely. Why not? I'm not gonna make it.
Then you are far too distracted by the sight before you and feeling a little irritated, maybe even at yourself. After all, this could have been sorted out a lot quicker if you hadn't suddenly been overcome with terror. But then we'll let Kruger take over. Kruger, you join your friend, and you look down, and you see, a bit of a mess of a human. Granted, it's only a few stories, so it's not the worst injury. You think maybe it's probably going to be something like a broken neck. But would you like to make a perception roll as well, please? Give yourself a plus 10.
That is 50 under 53.
You find yourself looking around, and there's an awful lot of commotion, a lot of guards and knights being stirred from their watch. You have a feeling a lot of them probably were being quite lax at this moment in time. And then you hear something. Wheels. And you just find yourself looking far to the left, outside the window, to the gate you came in from. You remember there are two gates that lead to the compound of the palace. There's the one that's from the Square of Marshals, which is where you came on foot. But tonight you came from another one all the way to the far right, which is where carriages normally would come and go. And you just noticed there is a very big carriage rapidly approaching the exit, getting towards the gate. It's almost there, and you look down and you realize that is the big carriage you saw parked just 10-20 minutes ago as you were coming in. It's a very big one. It's got 6 horses.
We have to stop that carriage. Could that be the Law Lord? I look around. Is there a guard I can yell to close whatever gates exist or anything like that? Or is my only choice here to try to catch up with the carriage?
You don't need to make a roll for this. You certainly can call a guard out, but it won't be quick enough. If you really want to get after that carriage, you need to be downstairs now, and by that I mean getting your rope out and quickly exiting the window, because there is, of course, the carriage you arrived by, and that's actually directly beneath you, conveniently. If you can get into that carriage right now, you might just be able to catch this carriage. But no, you don't think there's time for the guards to close the gates. It's going to take too long to reach them. You could yell out this window and they'll probably be like, "What?" And you'll repeat yourself. Again, it's all happening very quickly. What do you do?
I'm not going to let them get away. I'll immediately connect my rope then and begin descending. And I'll yell out to Heinrich and Siegfrieda, "They're escaping. I'm going after them." I begin immediately then descending down the rope. I'm not going to let them get away. And I yell out to Heinrich and Siegfrieda to make sure that they know what I'm doing.
Then please make an athletics check. Give yourself a plus 20 as you quickly rappel down the palace wall with your trusty grappling hook.
Ah, yes. That is 32 under 52.
And so you do this very skillfully, quickly rappelling down the wall of the palace and landing very close to the carriage you came with. And with that, you are on the carriage and quickly taking the reins. Heinrich, A rope has been left for you. I'm assuming you quickly use it to climb down.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, it's going to be so cool the way my cape billows as we go out this window.
Please make your athletics check at a +20.
3 degrees of success.
Then down you go, and you join your friend on the coach as it begins to move. Siegfrieda, you can already hear the coach moving. What do? You think it might be possible for you to quickly rappel and join your friends, but everything is happening very quickly and you're not entirely sure you'd be able to catch up with them, but you can try. But will you instead do something else? What do you do?
I need to see what's needed here. There's no point throwing myself into a chase and potential combat if there's work still to be done in this place.
Very well then. You watch your friends go. Erica is at your side. What do you tell her to do? She looks at you, keen for her next order.
I think she can do more good out there than she can in here. I don't, given the sheer number of knights that are in here, I don't think she's going to be taking out any throats that they can't. So I will give her the order. Follow Heinrich and Kruger, protect them, attack whoever they attack.
She doesn't nod, but she does give you something that shows she understands. She quickly goes to the window, but then does whine a little. Bless her, she sadly does not have the skill to make that sort of jump, and she doesn't know how to climb a rope, so she then quickly goes the other way, keen to perhaps make her way through the palace and do her best to follow.
I have confidence in her, she's a clever dog.
And so, Kruger, you take the reins of the carriage. How are you feeling? When was the last time you drove a carriage?
Oh, I don't know if I ever have, to be honest. It's not necessarily a skill that you end up learning living on the streets of Nuln, right? So, yeah, it's been a while, if I have ever done it at all.
Then this certainly will be a new experience as you do your best to clack the reins. You think that's what you do, you crack some reins, and the horses begin moving. Heinrich joins your side, and you quickly begin moving after this carriage. As you do this, you do finally hear shouts from several people saying to close the gates, to pursue the vehicle, but it's all happening far too slowly. That large carriage has already cleared the gate and made its way to the roads, going by the Königsgard district. You quickly follow, but you can feel behind you several knights are beginning to mount up. The chase, it seems, is on. Kruger and Heinrich, you find yourself in a situation you weren't quite expecting. Riding a carriage, a 2-horse carriage, rapidly after a much larger, much faster carriage through the streets of Middenheim. You're already past the gates of the palace and riding through the Königsgarden district, which you were hoping would be nice and empty, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Kruger, you suddenly hear a loud bang sound, and the sky above you is lit up with noise and lights. What do you do?
What is that? Is it magic again, or is this just normal lightning?
You don't know. You look up and there are strange explosions in the sky. Red and purple and orange. And somewhere you think you can hear cheering. You don't really know what's going on. Heinrich, you see this as well. What do you think?
I just got hit in the chest by a flaming skull. This is obviously chaos, and I'm here to stop it.
How are you going to do that? You don't know. It's happening all over the sky. The sky is alit with these terrifying explosions, and yet, again, people are laughing and cheering. What do you do, Kruger? Maybe you don't have time to focus on this. Your foe is in front of you. You need to catch up.
Could that be fireworks, or is it foul chaos magic? I don't have time to think about that. I immediately focus back on the road and on the chase. That's what I need to keep my eyes on. I'm not really used to controlling a carriage like this, so I have to make sure that I do this as carefully as possible, and otherwise we might end up crashing, and that I think that would hurt.
It certainly would. Please make a drive roll. And of course, if you can't do that, it would just be the core stat at a -10, which I believe is agility.
Yeah, that's good. That's a 1. 1 under 42, so 4 degrees of success.
Then you ride forth with your carriage as it begins clattering down the street. And then you hear the screams. You look ahead and you see Suddenly, there's an awful lot of commotion as you realise the streets are not empty, they are crowded. There are lots of people everywhere. Why are they out? What's going on? You don't have time to think about it, but something for some reason has people out on the streets, and, well, they've collided with the carriage in front of you. And that carriage has not slowed down or stopped, although it has maybe lost some speed as it barrels through people. You also notice, Heinrich, the wheels. You look to the wheels of this thing, and suddenly are those spikes. Spikes have suddenly come out from this carriage's wheels, and are just mowing people down. A whole group of 20 people is suddenly screaming and yelling and falling. But, grim as it may be, this actually does give you a chance to catch up. What do you do, Kruger? You're now very close to the carriage. Again, it's not stopping, and also now you realise you need to be careful not to run over people yourself. What do you do?
Heinrich, jump to the other carriage.
Climbing up onto the top of the roof of this carriage. I hope that I've reloaded my pistols since we had the time during the chase. And yeah, as soon as Kruger puts me within not fall to my doom in the spiky spinny bits range, I will leap.
Please make your athletics check at a -10. This is quite dangerous.
It's a 33, which is a critical under my 52.
In that case, you dive forwards and land perfectly on the other carriage. You take a moment to balance yourself, but it's not that tricky. Due to your critical success, you also notice at this stage, from the left and right of the carriage, some shutters open and two people poke their heads out, one from the left, one from the right. They see you and begin to aim their blunderbusses.
Who's driving?
You can't tell that yet. You'll have to move forward a little more. It's quite a wide carriage.
Okay, then I can solve both of these problems at once. I will dive forward, so the people who are leaning up out of the windows would not want to shoot the driver, like I'm going to. So in diving forward towards the little platform where the man is driving, I should be able to avoid the shots and then also wrestle for control of this vehicle.
Very well then. You dive forward, aiming for the front of the vehicle, and there you see two drivers. One of them does turn and begins getting ready a pistol. What do you do?
I'm going to shoot him first. It'll serve as a lesson to the second one.
Please make your attack roll. At -10. The carriage is moving quite rapidly still.
Does that also go with the range being point blank?
No, I'd say you're not quite at point blank range just yet. You're at the top of the carriage, they're a bit beneath you.
Okay, so short then. Okay, so it's -10 for the carriage, but +20 for short, so it's +10 overall. Oh, no, I'm going to have to roll fortune on that anyway. That is significantly better. 35 under 53, so to 3 levels of success plus the 8 would be 11 damage from the pistol.
Wonderful. You aim, you fire. Bang! Down goes a man. He falls from the carriage, quickly being lost under the wheels as the whole carriage buckles a little. At this point, you can hear shouts, screams, someone's ringing a bell somewhere, someone's calling out, "Stop that carriage!" Kruger, what do? You see your friend seems to have successfully boarded the carriage, but again, it's still moving, and now you're rapidly approaching the narrow streets. You might need to make another drive roll, I'm afraid.
I shall do that then. I will have to use a point of fortune there. That is a failure.
How much of a failure?
It is 3 degrees of failure.
Kruger, what do? You realize you need to take better control of the carriage. You need to reduce your speed. Otherwise, you're going to crash straight into a procession of people and barrels, which your rival doesn't seem to care about as they do barrel through them. And again, you can see from the left, from the right, people on horseback, knights. People are beginning to pursue this vehicle. But yes, you have to slow down. You have to leave your friend for the moment to fend for himself.
I'll have to do that. I'll have to hope that he can handle it by himself. I'm not going to kill any innocents doing this. That I wouldn't be able to live with that. So yeah, I'll have to slow down then, hoping to be able to catch up later.
Indeed, you begin to slow down just a little. Heinrich, what do? You suddenly realize that the surviving coachman has just begun hitting the horse in front of him very violently, and they are moving forwards. You think you can see in the distance the great walls of Middenheim, and you also think one of the gates, that must be where it's heading. But what do? One driver is down, but there's still one more, and he doesn't seem to care about trying to stop. And that's when then you hear the gunshots. It seems as if the people on the left and right don't seem to care so much for their friend as you were thinking, as they clearly are trying to fire at you.
Well, for one, I'm not going to stand for animal cruelty. We lit one donkey on fire, and that was more than enough for the rest of my entire adventuring career. So if he's going to hit the horses, then I'm going to hit him with the sharp, pointy end of my sword.
You hear gunfire go off behind you, but luckily it does seem to miss entirely as 2 blunderbuss shots just randomly hit walls or barrels. But you're focusing on this driver. He turns to you and just says, "You fucking bastard!" Make your weapon skill attack, please.
Ooh, 11. It's a critical success under my melee rapier skill of 58.
Wonderful. How do you dispatch your foe?
Well, turning is the worst thing he could possibly do. The rapier is a very narrow blade. It is very, very easy to just offhand whip it forward and then right through the eyeball.
Then you stab this man straight through the eye. He shudders, he falls. And you've done it! You now have control of these 6 horses. Except, well, you don't, really. What are you going to try and do? They are very unhappy and they are moving forwards.
I don't want to control the horses. I want to find the horse latching mechanism, however these carriages work. And if I have to cut it, or whatever. I let the horses go. They can have their own business.
A good idea. But as you look down, you realize complicated because there's 6 of them. They're all attached to the wagon. Maybe there's a few harnesses? How are you going to deal with them? Are you going to try shooting them or just trying to gently detach them?
I'm not a carriageologist. Are these like leather straps or is it like a big wooden thing?
It's a combination of wood and leather straps. They're all attached to the wagon and they have several connections to the wagon. This is a very big and important coach. It occurs to you it's probably designed to not easily be stoppable.
Okay, well, with that idea, whatever. Then let's just keep killing people, because I don't know how to stop the coach. I do not know how to drive it.
Then, in that indecision, you will find the carriage simply barrels forwards. Kruger, what are you doing? You had to slow down for a bit, but now there's open road between you and the wall of the city. Again, you hear shouts. It seems people at the gate have heard, and they are starting to try and bring down the portcullis, but again, it's going to be far too slow. You also suddenly just notice from the corner of your eye, Erica. Erica is doing her very best to keep up with you. She's only finally caught up because you slowed down, and you can see the poor dog is looking very fatigued, but she is just bounding by your side on the road.
I'll slow down just a little bit more so she can jump up on the carriage. Come on, Erica!
Then jump up she will, and then what do?
Then I increase the speed again, trying to catch up. I need to help Heinrich.
Make your drive roll, please.
That is a 40 under 42.
You begin rapidly trying to catch up. You notice the wagon slowing a little. Maybe he has done something to slow it. Heinrich, you're getting ready to maybe enter the carriage, although you realize entering it from here is a little tricky, although there is maybe an emergency hatch. But you also are aware that the carriage is barreling forwards, and suddenly the gate, the guards at the gate, and the portcullis are all becoming very, very, very close. You think the carriage is going to be in a lot of trouble very, very soon. What do?
All right, then let's jump off the carriage.
Make your athletics check.
No, not by a long shot, and I am too low on fortune.
Then off you jump, landing hard into a shrub and then hitting the stone walls of Middenheim, which hurts. You take 2 wounds, which you aren't able to block, unfortunately. And then there is a great deal of screaming and commotion as the carriage collides into the gate, but doesn't quite make it. The horses panic, they fall over, the carriage goes to its side, crashes into the wall, and then there's a bit of a sizzling sound, which doesn't make any sense to you, Heinrich, as suddenly the carriage explodes in fire and flame, which is not what carriages normally do. Kruger, you see this happen. You have time to slow down your carriage to take in this sight, which is very confusing. And then as that all happens, you see something fly out from the top of the carriage. You don't know what it is, but something is suddenly in the air, and it lands roughly near the large wooden lifts. You recall, of course, there is another way of getting into Middenheim. It's not just the gate, it's also these lifts that go to the top of the wall and then descend down the wall. Something has just landed there. Heinrich, you stumble up. That hurt, but you're fine, and you also notice, quite near you, that something has just landed on one of these lifts. What do you do?
Can I see what it is?
Something humanoid in shape.
Oh god, is it the corpse of the guy? It doesn't matter. I will get closer until I can identify it, or determine that it cannot be identified.
Certainly, you begin moving forwards, and then whatever it is stands up and hits something, and then the lift begins rapidly ascending. One of the lifts, anyway. There's a second lift right next to you could also use. Kruger, by this point, you've jumped off the carriage, Erica at your side, and you just reach Heinrich as someone, or something, is suddenly rapidly heading up the wall on some sort of lift. But, well, there's a lift for you as well. What do you do?
They're trying to escape. Come on, let's get on the other lift. And I'll begin booking for that one then, and getting us ready to start ascending and catching up with these, whoever they are.
Certainly. Heinrich, you get on this lift, you look at this lever. Now, you don't know how this works, but you did just see someone basically kick it really hard, and it seemed to make the whole thing go a lot faster than it's supposed to. Are you going to do that?
Yeah, sure. Whatever magic kicking motion, I assume that's how it works.
Then you kick the mechanism hard, and it seems that whatever safety measures are normally used for these things, you've just bypassed, and suddenly your lift is now rapidly moving up the wall.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this third part of the series, we are tackling Book 3, Power Behind the Throne. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Ager Sonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We'd like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Antxon, Graham Barey, and Doug Thomson for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real. Except, well, who's gonna believe you? Never mind.